Face front, true believers, and welcome to the culmination of the Samaritan Path. Netflix started us down. We recap the journeys of the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, the PI who stood up to the Purple Man, the righteous ex-con turned Power Man, and the kid with the glowing fist. In a show where we uncover the stories the Avengers might not disclose, but we will, as we analyze the Marvel microcosm and finally start Divulging Defenders. Aw, yeah. All right, Dragon, tonight we're talking about Season 1, Episode 3, entitled Worst Behavior. But really, this episode should just be called Hallway Fight.
At the end of the day, pretty much. But oh my god, it's a good episode, folks.
Dragon, I think you and I both agree in kind of like the shortened 8-episode structure that it's the Defenders. This is kind of the traditional episode 8.
Yes.
And of course, Dragon, this is all building up to Jessica Jones Season 2.
Because we got a new trailer for.
Yeah, new trailer. What do you think?
I'm impressed. I'm liking it. Looks like we're gonna get some interesting stuff there.
Yeah, very, very personal drama for Jessica. Kind of a far cry from sort of the more comedic take on Jessica Jones we get in the Defenders. So it'll be interesting to go into sort of the more serious tone with that. But of course, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Defenders themselves. So let's get started with some plot. Dragon, hit us.
All right, here's the plot in a nutshell, folks. So, we start with Elektra's resurrection by Alexandra is revealed. We reveal how Elektra came back, so to speak. We see Claire and Colleen introduce Luke Cage and Danny Rand after their fight properly. Less fisticuffs, more what the heck. Jessica Jones and Matt Murdock reluctantly team up, let's say. And Danny Rand confronts Alexandra and the Hand directly, which leads to a fight, and let's just say plot lines collide. And that's the episode.
All right, so let's get started with Fingerprints of the Hand.
Yes.
How many roll around in the blood jokes can we make this episode, Matthew? Netflix gives us so much material to work with.
It came true, Matthew. I wish
podcast.
I wish that I finally rolled in the blood. It was fun.
Okay, so Dragon, what do you think of the whole? This is like by far one of the longest cold opens we've gotten for any of the Netflix shows.
Quite possibly. But I don't mind it.
To tell you the truth, for me, I thought it was interesting. I think really it could have been done in half the time, in all honesty.
Well, I mean, I guess if they could have. Well, here's the thing. I guess they could have ended it after basically could have ended it before her fighting demonstration, I suppose. They could have ended the whole you are everything. They could have ended it there.
Yeah.
I suppose.
I mean, don't get me wrong, everything's good. It just kind of feels like pacing-wise it's a little awkward because we almost get like a third of the way through the episode before we get the intro, I want to say.
Well, here's the thing. I don't mind that because it kind of sets the stage for Elektra because she comes. You got to remember, the last 2 minutes of this episode is jam-packed with some of the most fantastic stuff we have. If you want to if you want to include the lead up to the big hallway fight, you have it's 4 minutes. The last 4 minutes of the episode, all the big stuff happens. And Elektra, let's just say, makes her grand entrance, and this is like building that up. So you get all of our Elektra stuff, kind of fill the gaps in between Daredevil season 2 and that. So I think it's all. I think it's like a short film at the beginning that I think plays really well into the episodes. I don't mind.
Of course, we get some build up for Sigourney Weaver's relationship with Elektra, which let's just say is kind of paving the way for some big stuff in the future. We'll get more into that later.
I loved Alexandra in this episode. And I love the whole plot line between her and Elektra. I love her. I mean, I love that Alexandra. While we definitely see where the hand skepticism on this move is going to come from, is that Alexandra is putting all of her eggs in one basket and resurrecting Elektra. Because as we're going to find, they hint at it here, but as we're going to find out, the bringing back the Black Sky comes at the cost of the last of their rejuvenating, concoction of blood of the distilled of the distilled blood of it's awesome how it's awesome and creepy how the hand works, because you really think about what this stuff's made of. I won't spoil what the other half's made of, but let's just say of the mysterious black substance and the distilled blood from brainwashed children. Because remember, they kidnap kids and they had to burn them up, kind of brainwash them in the process, and basically distill the blood to make the black combination there. So it's a really twisted, boys. It's twisted how they work, and of course, in doing that, we do finally get our age-old gag of Elektra finally getting to roll around in the blood, and that brings her back. What the splash in the blood, Matthew? And then, of course, she emerges, and Elektra emerges very taboo. And essentially, here's what I love about Alexandra, is we're circling back here. Alexandra, I love how she's mothering the tabula rasa, basically kind of the clean slate Elektra. It's sort of like Elektra comes back, "Are you my mother?"
God. Pretty much, though, you're not wrong.
I just want to make it clear, when we do that, we're doing it out of love for Elodie Young. We're not trying to mock her by any stretch. I just want to make that clear. Okay, we just...
Dragon, I would actually say, like, us generally on the podcast, we're generally higher on Elodie Young than a lot of other people are.
Well, I mean, how can people not be high on Elodie Young? I mean, compare her to Jennifer Garner. Come on.
Oh God! Oh yeah!
That's what I'm saying. Anyone
it's night and day. Absolutely.
Comparatively, people are insane if they don't insinuate.
All right.
Regardless, Elodie Young, while we like her as well, but also again, I think broadly people should be on her side regardless if they like her or not. But we like her. So anyway, speaking of Elodie Young, let's more specifically let's talk about what we're doing with Elektra in this episode.
Sure. I mean, I like how Elektra comes out all Terminator-like at the end.
Yeah. We do. What's so great about Elektra coming back is that, one, it's very much, it's the opposite of Matt's arc, in a way, where Matt, in this, for Defenders, if you look at comparatively, Matt and Elektra are on completely kind of counterclockwise arcs almost, where Elektra... Matt's he's trying to kind of live a life free of sin. He's just trying to, he's trying not to dive into his darkness. He's trying not to deal in the devil, let's say. Where Elektra, on the other hand, she quite literally takes a deep dive into her darkness and her sin as the Black Sky. She comes back to tabula rasa. That means she doesn't have any of the Elektra that complicates if she is the Black Sky or not. Like, there's no like, hey, I'm going to go to Matthew's side. It's going to be fun. I can splish it. I'm tired of splashing in the blood. It was fun, but it only lasts for so long. Anyway, the fact that she's just now it's like what Elektra always had at her core, the darkness that she was just kind of combating and questioning, is now full blown, and just taking control. It's pure evil essentially that is being harnessed. It is quite literally, little pun intended, in the wrong hands.
So yeah, and like I said, it definitely is that Terminator kind of like living weapon quality to it as we get it more into the season.
You got to remember, she, even so far, Tease, looking at what we have with her so far as an effective weapon, she's a weapon that has killed most of essentially all but one of the chaste.
Right.
So that means she's already killed like all the competition, at least all the ones in the nearby area. So she's went globally and did this. So presumably she's killed all the chaste except for Stick.
So speaking of hands, Dragon, what do you think of Stick this episode?
Well, you
Part of me just likes to think that Stick just like really appreciated the wordplay of the situation.
it's funny. We'll get to this when we get to one of our other segments. But I just want to say, Stick has a line that I love so much on the rewatch in regards to one of our characters, and we'll get there. He says he has a line that kind of stole the episode for me in terms of like a line over an action. we'll, we'll get. It's so funny and so self-aware, and we'll get there anyway. But yeah, it was great to see Stick back. So we didn't have to wait that long for Stick. He came back, and of course, Stick's reaction to Elektra. I guess to keep Electra-centric here for a moment is that. Uh, I loved we kind of set this great tone where Stick doesn't recognize Elektra instantly. Neither does Matt, but especially it would take Stick. He's quicker on the uptake, but it's so radically different when you're brought back. One, when you're brought back thanks to the kind of the hand's blood substance, and secondly, because again, it's just she's pure evil, and he always experienced this girl before she was all evil. So now it's just like, oh God, I don't even recognize this kid anymore. It's like he's asked to combat his own daughter, and he tries. I love that he tries to lure her back, but of course. To no avail.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, that's last thing just on the hand broadly, and I guess that'll do it unless you got anything else.
I mean, of course, first of all, what do you think of... I've heard mixed things about the effect on Stick's actual hand situation.
I liked it.
Some have said it looks kind of fake.
Well, look, I like this. I really like the symbolism of the hand being, the hand is cut off and the hand is just,
No, I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying, like, the actual effect of it.
Here's the thing. It's kind of a strange, like, we see dismemberment and violence all the time in media. However, I got to tell you, though, I don't know what it is, but when it happened, it's just the abruptness and just kind of the fact that it's like you processing it, I feel, covers up any ineffectualness in the effect for me. It's like he just suddenly cut off his hand, and Stick, and Stick's a real, he's a tough guy, and just the fact that he would do that, like, I buy it just because Stick did it, and it's like, oh my God, you hear that little slice, like, oh God, it's horrific. I'm processing the intended horror before I'm processing the effect, so I'm fine with it.
All right, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, go ahead.
All right, I guess last thing with the hand is that the very we see through Midland Circle, they're very organized on a business front, and of course the last key to the puzzle for them to get, well, again, business-wise, they're doing gangbusters, but in their pursuit of the last thing they need Iron Fist. Whether they want him or not, they need Iron Fist. All right.
Is that kind of a metaphor for the Marvel Netflix shows as a whole, Dragon?
Vaguely, yes.
All right. Okay, so let's get to the true hero of the episode. Let's talk about Luke Cage.
If Iron Fist is the key, Luke Cage is the awesome lock.
By all means, by all means. Oh man,
because he's been unlocked anyway. So yes, Luke Cage.
We kind of have to tap dance around some stuff with Luke because both our favorite moments come from him.
Yeah. But, boy, I'll tell you, Luke Cage, he is, well, yeah, now we especially have to tap, yeah, right, just remembering, yes, we have to tap dance around Luke. But, yeah, Luke, he's definitely the MVP of this episode for me. Luke steals this episode for me. As much as, and I really do like a big thing of this episode, the reason I think it's an episode 8 is not just for, I want to say, is not just for the hallway scene, which, again, we're going to be glowing about later on, but that isn't the only reason this episode is like it's basically when we say episode 8, folks, it's an outdated kind of running gag, but the point is episode 8
is kind of outdated.
Yeah, well, again, honestly, I think how Jessica Jones season 2 pans out, that will define if the episode 8 has.
I mean, it was pretty consistent for the first 3 the first 2 seasons of Daredevil and Jessica Jones. It was a pretty consistent thing.
And Luke Cage, an argument could still be made for that episode 8. An argument still we went through an argument could be made, but then again, there are a lot of Luke Cage.
I think Luke Cage, the true episode 8 is episode 7 in Luke Cage days.
And even Luke Cage is such a good show. There are also other episodes that kind of almost steal the spot, so it's kind of hard to get to. Right. Point is, things are a little murky with Luke Cage and everything. My point is, this episode has a lot of elements that just feel like they're in like a perfect kind of distilled moment of like what these shows are all about, and basically a tight narrative, something that's written very well, something that is in tune with what the comics or the characters are all about. Basically, moments that kind of summarize what these shows, like basically the best hits of any show. That's kind of what an episode 8 would be. And Luke Cage, I feel, contributes to a lot of those moments. moments here, because we have some of the almost kind of Kingpin shadows under glass narrative wise with Elektra, and the hand, like the hand opening with Elektra very much feels like kind of shadows under glass in terms of plotting. Luke Cage feels like that in terms of character.
Yeah.
We'll get the specific examples of that as it goes on, but let's see, with Luke Cage, just going where we kind of go with him in the episode without getting too into it. We pick up I love when we pick up post the Iron Fist fight with Luke, when that he's nursing both wounds, psychological and physical, which of course is a rarity for Luke Cage, nursing physical wounds, because Luke Cage having to ice a wound is kind of funny to me. But I love that he's
just the whole thing of seeing the heroes for hire come together, Dragon. Without giving specifics away, that is my favorite element of this episode, besides the agreed element of the hallway fight. Like, I just to me, like we kind of joked about, Mike Coulter's just like, here, kid, let me lend you an acting hand and let me show you how it's done.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I love, and I mentioned this a little in the previous episode, I love how he's super guilty. Again, the thing that hurts worse than the punch is the moral punch that he received in that. And again, it's through his own, again, it's through himself. It's not that you can't just put it on Danny Rand, which I really like with this. And he's guilty over abandoning Cole. He feels that he abandoned Cole. He did what he had to do in the moment there, but he didn't stand by Cole. He didn't try to alleviate the situation. But it's like a part of him deep down, he just did not want to go to prison again, so he ran.
Right,
and
right.
He left him to be arrested. And of course, Cole, we're going to see this very much leads to Cole's demise, which you got to imagine is tearing up Luke Cage, and it motivates him to get to the climax of the episode, which is also really good in terms of plotting.
Yeah, very good stuff here. And of course, without giving away any details, super emotionally resonant moment with Luke Cage that I'm sure steals the spotlight for you.
Yes. Oh boy, I can't wait to get to it. We are continuing on where we go with Luke. He's Luke through Claire, and it's always good to see Claire being very proactive. And basically, unfortunately, in this series, in Defenders, a nitpick that we have broadly through the whole series is that we never utilize this to the extent we expected it to or would like it to. But at least we got a bit of it here. Claire,
this is the closest thing that Claire comes to getting our proverbial Coulson.
Exactly, where Claire is. She is the glue. She and partly Turk Bear. Again, Turk Bear isn't in all shows, but Claire and Turk Bear are kind of the glue to the Netflix shows.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Claire Temple, in that she brings together the heroes for hire. Essentially, she loops Luke in on Iron Fist, because again, she won a whole adventure in China with Iron Fist, so obviously she would know him. And it's kind of like the moms getting the kids who just had a fight together. It's kind of what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
It's pretty much Claire.
Let's not too much into that, though.
Sure. But you know what I mean. It's just the point is it's nice that we had Claire having her glue moment. But again, it would have been nice if we fully utilized the fact that Claire was in all the shows. She doesn't even. I don't think she even has a scene with Matt in this series. But yeah, it's just anyway.
I think you're right about that. I'll have to keep an eye out.
See, that to me is what's really sad. Of all the Claire stuff, because Jessica Jones, she just had one episode with Jessica Jones, really. But I don't know. Anyway. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Luke Broly, I love how he continues to represent. He embodies pop and how he he represents the ground level of Harlem's youth in the conversation he has with Danny Rand. He basically points out that Cole is a totem. He's lowest. How Danny's not considering the people who are low on the totem pole, and he just got caught up in this crazy hand plan.
So, sort of speaking to the point I made during the Luke Cage episode of Black History Heroes, Dragon, kind of some crossover promotion there.
Black History
I believe that this speech is definitely kind of what I was talking about when I called Luke Cage the embodiment of what the true definition of a social justice warrior should be. And I know we're all sick of that terminology.
I mean, come on, if you're going to give it to anyone, give it to Luke Cage. Come on. If you're going to give it to anyone, though, give it to Luke Cage.
Exactly. I'm saying like the best possible example of it would be Luke Cage, and specifically for him having what essentially amounts to a check your privilege speech to Danny Rand, but it works because there's just so much truth in it.
it doesn't feel forced because we've seen this firsthand in the Luke Cage show. Again, continuity is a big friend to the Marvel
Yeah, we
Netflix
also know
shows.
that Danny Rand is a spoiled brat
Yeah.
from his own show, so
And again, it plays so well and plays so earnestly without being forced or like, okay, they're going through this scene because we have to address. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels okay. This is something that these guys aren't going to be instant friends. They're going to one be coming from very different backgrounds, but also they really have to teach each other something. You know, Luke has to branch out, and then Danny, obviously, he has to be mentored by someone who who gets it, someone who's been around. Where Danny Rand, again, he's just been, hey. I'm basically, it seems like he had everything handed to him. Not only that, along with the powers, like, hey, now I'm gonna go to New York and then just walk back into my old life, and then I'm gonna fight the Hand, and then I'm gonna still be the Iron Fist. It's like, again, everything eventually worked out for Danny Rand, despite like, why didn't I see the evils of Harold Meacham? Why?
right.
Oh, the ice cream! I saw that trail of blood with the ice cream. I should have put it together. Oh darn.
God.
Anyway.
All right.
So with Luke, also almost through Luke, I guess, that uh, he learns that White Hat is part of a serious Hand threat. So I like that. You know, initially it seemed, again, I remember talking about this when we were on episode 2, where I really thought White Hat was going to be initially going to be a fixture of like Luke Cage season 2 when he was introduced.
I mean, he felt like it, right? Like if Luke Cage was being set up as like kind of like an after school GI Joe style thing, White Hat totally felt like a GI Joe style villain.
You're corrupting the youth of Harlem. I can't have that. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, White Hat. We reveal here, and importantly, the reason I bring up White Hat is because White Hat is, I guess honestly, I really can't remember if White Hat. Obviously, White Hat was a nickname. That's the thing. I can't remember if White Hat is probably an obscure Marvel character. He probably is, and White Hat is probably a nickname he went through, because I was thinking maybe White Hat was just kind of something they created, because it's so weird. It sounds like something so perfectly named but might not actually exist, but then again, never say that because anything exists, you know?
Uh-huh.
The point is, White Hat, he serves as a viable in for Luke Cage. He thinks he's going up against one singular threat, when in reality, he kind of, after his visit with Cole, he learns, okay, and his convo with Danny, he learns, okay, this guy is part of a bigger thing, which means he's going to need to branch out to to work with people down the line. Or the Hand is a serious threat. As far fetched as it sounds, again, like punching dragons and ripping molten hearts out and all that sort of stuff. It's as ridiculous as that all sounds. Or as far fetched as the Hand sounds or not, they killed Cole Miller and left left people in his life without him. That's what it boils down to. And now Luke, he's getting involved, whether he believes it or not. And Danny Rand really is his into the fray.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So speaking of Danny Rand,
yes. Not really a ton to say about Danny this episode that doesn't really tie into the other characters, honestly, so this should go by pretty quick.
Right. So let's see. So Iron Fist, obviously he's confronted by Luke Cage about his rich kid lifestyle. And Danny, I like that Danny takes it to heart, and again, that shows you that there is possibilities with the Iron Fist character, despite the missteps that we've had with him in the
This
past.
is definitely, out of any episode that we've seen Iron Fist in throughout either his own series or Defenders so far, this is probably the strongest.
And again, folks, this is what's helping contribute to episode 8 mentality here. It's where, okay, we're fixing things. This episode.
Although, Dragon, I will say, there is a funny moment that the two of us kind of relate to, where Danny goes to to Rand Enterprises, and they write off Ward in a very unceremonious way, like, oh, he's on a business trip, forget about it. And you and I are like the only guys on the internet who would have actually liked an appearance from Ward Meacham.
Look, I'm not heartbroken that he didn't appear.
I'm not heartbroken either, but at the same time, I think Danny's like the only character where his his side cast outside of Colleen is kind of pushed to the sidelines.
Yeah, remember, folks, Ward had a really rocky start.
Yeah, but at the same time, Dragon, like through that 13 episodes, Ward was kind of the reason I kept pushing through it, because his storyline got good through, especially towards the latter half of that season.
Right.
Anyways.
But yeah, so I mean, I love that, Danny takes this, he takes, his scene with Luke Cage to heart, and he, how he didn't help where it counted as Danny Rand, again, not even as the Iron Fist, as Danny Rand, which again, he made that, he tried making that choice all throughout the first season of Iron Fist, like, who am I? Am I Danny Rand, or am I the Iron Fist? Or at the end, he kind of chose Iron Fist, but it was too late, so again, it's just, Danny realized I could have done more as myself than as, like, this symbol. So, yeah.
Which leads to kind of this awesome sort of cocky face-off with Sigourney Weaver in the boardroom, which is, again, a really good standalone Iron Fist scene, Dragon.
It is. It basically leads to, like, what Danny the realization he comes to is, I'm going to be Iron Fist through a Danny Rand approach. I'm going to have the confidence of Iron Fist, where I can take
Wayne-esque.
Yes. And
a young Bruce Wayne.
Well, yes, perhaps you could say that, yeah. But yeah, I mean, what's great is that he follows, and this is what's kind of nice about it. It's kind of in between the lines here. I love that he follows. He kind of follows how Luke Cage takes care of business, and how in Harlem, Luke deals with people directly in Harlem. That's how he takes care of business. It's kind of like Danny Rand. Man, I'm going to follow the example Luke Cage set. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to talk to the bullies. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to tell them I don't like what they're doing, and they don't stand a chance. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, he's being mentored by Luke slowly. It's definitely what's kind of coming across in the episode. And again, lastly, with Danny, it's with that boardroom scene, is that Danny's heart is absolutely in the right place. Thanks to Luke. His heart's in the right place, and it's a brave speech he delivers to the hand. But he learns very quickly he's in over his head. We still see
I just love the imagery of the boardroom that just instantly springs into ninja action.
Yes, and again, I told you I'm so in love with the shot, and I loved it more in the trailer, but I still loved it here. The batons coming out, like the board members who pull batons. It's like it's every businessman's worst nightmare in a way, where it's like, if the pitch of the meeting does not go well, what's the worst that could happen? Well, you feel ashamed and you walk out, right? No. They pull collapsible batons and they try to trank and beat you. So, oh boy, but yeah, it's that we see what kind of Danny's going up against here. He's in over his head and he's impulsive, so he's still got to work that out through his arc. But again, it's a good start we lay on him. But at the same time, he's unaware that he's a walking key. He walks in there, he's a walking key, and he doesn't even know it. I'm the MacGuffin. I never knew. Anyway,
all right, Dragon, it's time to start investigating Jessica Jones.
Dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Anyway.
Not a ton here. She's still kind of feeling guilty over the untimely death of Survivor Thailand first boot John Raymond. Just a little fun fact.
See, episode 8 is at least something we bring up in all the shows. Survivor references, not so much.
I'm just saying, whenever I hear the name John Raymond, Dragon, Survivor Thailand first boot.
Anyway. Okay, so yeah, Jessica. So what's great is, like, Jessica, it very much feels like she's in her own show, and I really like that with Jessica Jones. And now it's something we've been kind of tracking with her. Is that she's still very much, again, she dominated the other two episodes, particularly the second one, where again it's very much her narrative, and it's like it's Jessica Jones's world, and Matt Murdock's just pestering her. That's really how it's going in this episode. And
of course, I love any scene of Jessica Jones kind of acting, and so we get that in a great quality with her kind of giving getting the floor plan to her.
Yeah, she basically acts as if she's doing like a startup company, and she's looking for a building, like a designer design a building for, and like a layout.
Dragon, to me is gold. Like that to me is that's Jessica Jones prime right there. That's blue meth Jessica Jones.
You're right, and Tiga, you're absolutely right about that. And what I love, and this is, I think, my favorite line from Kirsten Ritter. She's Tiga, I keep screwing up. Is it Kristen or Kirsten?
I want to say it's Kristen.
All right. Well, Kristen Ritter. Here, what I love is that in her kind of the kind of the happy peppy Jessica Jones, kind of the undercover, she's putting on like the kind of the duncy voice, kind of the dim blonde voice. I don't know, it's not, obviously she's not blonde. I'm trying to think I can't think of the word I'm thinking of right now. The point is,
Like a Valley Girl.
yeah, like the Valley Girl. Yeah, yes, the Valley Girl voice. And she has this line where basically he says something clever, like about architecture. He says, "Can I quote you? Because I'm gonna quote you."
Don't answer that. I'm quoting you.
Exactly. She's just, oh god. And she says, those bouncy chairs that a lot of people think are annoying, but I don't. Just like the rolling. We want standing desk.
Yeah, she's just really committed to the role.
Okay, what I'd love to see is a scene with with that Jessica and our version of Elektra.
Oh my god.
Basically, imagine they're shopping buddies or something. Says, "Oh, let's get mud baths. It's not as cold as like a blood bath, but it'll be fun. We can
But
take a
it's much
spa."
more culturally appropriate.
Oh my god, yes! I love spa days. Let's go.
Oh my god. Oh god. All right, and much like being in her own show, Dragon, I love how we get kind of the PI tracking Matt Murdock scene. That's one of the highlights of the episode.
It's great. It's kind of it's a great meeting space between two things we've seen in both shows. Where Matt Murdock, we've had a couple great scenes where Matt Murdock, he's pursued people in broad daylight as the blind man who knows parkour. And in Jessica Jones's case, she's had mainly I think it was like episode 4 or 5 when she finds out that Malcolm is under Kilgrave's command, where we have this great shot. She's taking pictures of people in the crowd trying to figure out, she's walking in the crowd knowing that she's being followed. So we kind of have both of those scenes meet each other.
Yeah, and of course, with that, Matt and you gotta like how this episode, it really is a good meeting point where, of course, the heroes for hire are coming together, but at the same time, Matt and Jessica are having their own little arc. So, just economically, the time spent with all the heroes is very well divvied up.
Something I really like, and I'll address this twofold when we get to Daredevil as well. But with Jessica, so again, Jessica, she's haunted by John Raymond's death, and the hand conspiracy. Basically, knowing that John Raymond's he's wrapped up in something after seeing Elektra come to her apartment and be responsible for this guy blowing his brains out. She knows a conspiracy is afoot, and of course we have the PTSD thing with Jessica Jones, and she's haunted by this death that happened very traumatically in front of her. And again, Malcolm held her at gunpoint, and again, something that is otherworldly and beyond her, seemingly beyond her power. So she's getting wrapped up right back into it. Again, I like that the PTSD thing. It's like if you know Jessica Jones, you can see it there, but at the same time, it's there without being in your face.
Mm-hmm.
So what I love connected to that is that with when we get to Matt is that she's lying to herself that Elektra didn't shake her up because she's saying she wasn't shaken up. And she's downplaying it. She's very much lying to herself. And Matt knows this. And, of course, she doesn't trust any lawyer. Yeah, she's famously she doesn't trust any lawyer whatsoever, despite her path with Jerry Hogarth. And I love that very much, again, because of her past with lawyers. She tries to blackmail Matt as insurance. Again, that's why she takes that picture, just in case this guy comes back or sends off with this guy. Again, it's kind of a distrusting Jessica Jones at the very beginning before she begins to befriend Matt. They're on very counterintuitive places there. And at the end, she's thrown into a fight with a skilled blind man, her ex, and a monk. That's kind of where we're at with Jessica Jones at the end of this episode. It's oh my god, Luke, and who's this guy? Yeah.
And of course, we were all wondering how Jessica Jones and Luke Cage were going to reunite it. I don't think they could have done it any better timing-wise.
Right.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to our last character-centric segment. Discerning Daredevil.
Blonde Matt Murdock.
Come on, D.
Yes. So, of course, as always, Matt, he's essentially Matt's addiction to vigilantism, as we've kind of been going on for the 2 episodes here, is his addiction to vigilantism is not helped by Jessica Jones, who, by being in a room with Jessica Jones, who asking like if there's anything else going on, knows that she's lying in the interrogation. I love that. So Matt, again, trying to like just be a normal lawyer here. It's not really focused on, but I love that it's there. Is that when he's asking Jessica Jones if something like Kilgrave is afoot here, if something otherworldly, if something if something's going on here, tell me. And of course she says no, nothing out of the ordinary. That of course signals to him that okay, she's lying, which means I'm going to have to get involved in this. I have to tail her because of this.
Right.
So again, like Jessica Jones is his back into things. So again, they do very much serve each other's plot very well.
Yeah, really, there's not a ton to like. Matt, as you said, is kind of just like, wandering around in the background of Jessica's story a lot of the time. He doesn't really have a ton of an arc of his own throughout the episode, except for just sort of reluctantly getting back into the fray of things.
I think Matt has a 3-point arc in a way. And again, there's the line. Basically, he's roped back into it through Jessica Jones. The other thing, I guess point 2 would be, the minute there's trouble afoot. And this speaks to showing you how, again, while he's trying to avoid his addiction, and as Foggy said, it's a solution, but it's probably not a perfect solution, but at least we say we tried something. Again, he's tried using Foggy's method, but Foggy's method has thrown him into the thick of something else. But the minute there's trouble afoot, his addiction takes hold, and we see this unfold in a great moment where, he hears a gunshot. He hears a silenced gunshot in Midland Circle, and he grabs Jessica. I'm going to need this. Grabs Jessica Jones' scarf and does the awesome kind of parkour up going through the stairs.
Yeah, that scarf is such a great visual. It was a really wonderful way to kind of tease Daredevil in the trailers for the show.
It is, and again, it's kind of it's a good symbol of like how Jessica Jones sees him as just some ridiculous lawyer wearing my scarf. Basically, again, like a guy holding, again, like I guess in perspective, a very cynical eye, you could look at Daredevil as such, as like a guy kind of doing things the hard way when he doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Jessica Jones is kind of looking at through her own view, with that scarf. And I guess the last thing, the main arc that Matt has is we continue the addiction with the vigilantism. We see it like unfold in that moment where again trouble's afoot. But the last point I guess to make is that he goes through he has a big shock in the fight where, oh my God, Elektra's back. Elektra's come back. And that throws him off a little towards the end.
It's one of the few instances where we see Daredevil like truly off his game.
And he was about to be killed because, again, Elektra was back in the fray thanks to Danny Rand saving his bacon at the last 2 seconds there. And he goes in the elevator. Who are you people? That's the ending.
Which, by the way, Danny, isn't that the shot where Danny's fist basically disintegrates the sword?
Yeah, disintegrates the sword and sends her flying to the other room.
I love the imagery of disintegrating the sword. That's one of my favorite uses of the Iron Fist power.
It's cool. Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to Excelsior Expectations.
Excelsior.
All right.
So let's see.
So, of course, this being kind of the proverbial episode 8, there's a lot of things that this episode does very well.
Certainly. The Elektra link up with the opening is great, how we literally track, what happened to Elektra since her death. From basically, we link up the end of Daredevil Season 2 to the beginning of Defenders.
Mm-hmm. As I said, I really like the fact that this episode is split into those 2 diverging paths with the Heroes for Hire and then Daredevil and Jessica Jones. That's a really good way to go about it.
Yep. The plot lines converging in a very natural and exciting manner.
Yeah, of course, the awesomeness that is the hallway fight.
The big spectacle of all 4 heroes fighting together in their unique styles. I will say this, though, in retrospect, I don't know what it is, but I think Luke Cage gets more to do in the trailer somehow through the editing. I don't know. It's kind of strange.
Of course, we do get that great moment with him literally having Danny Rand's back.
Yep, we do. Yes, and it's great. We'll put a pin in that. We'll get there. Everyone's very well represented.
Mm-hmm.
we have great one-on-one scenes. We have great conversational scenes. Against one-on-one scene between Matt Murdock and Jessica Jones. One-on-one scene between Daniel Rand and Luke Cage. Strong. And speaking of that, just kind of we have very strong pairings in that regard too. Again, as I just said, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Claire and Colleen, and Alexandra and Elektra.
Certainly. They actually managed to make Finn Jones engaging.
Yes, that's always good. I love I love the payoff of Elektra's Black Sky, because remember, Daredevil season 2 and the hand stuff was always like the iffy thing of Daredevil season 2. It wasn't bad, but it felt like its own season.
I feel like the problem was at a certain point in Daredevil season 2, it's like, all right, we get it with the ninjas.
Yeah, but again, I still say when we watched through, it didn't seem to be as much as you were saying. But I think it feels like that because, again, it's kind of, you have a lot with the Punisher stuff distracting from it. I think that's why it feels like, okay, enough of the ninjas, I want more Punisher.
Well, no, it wasn't the Punisher stuff distracting from it. It was that distracting from the Punisher stuff.
No, you know what I mean that it's, yeah. I mean that, it's like, it's the Punisher is distracting because he's awesome. Is that, oh my God, it's the Punisher. Oh.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that the Black Sky thing was a very last minute kind of thing that was revealed. But again, retroactively, it's a cool thing to track. But here we finally kind of pay it off, and it's very clear. Okay, she comes.
Yeah, I feel like the Black Sky in season 1 felt like something where you weren't even sure if they were going to follow through with it, or if it was just going to be like a throwaway, like one episode thing to get Stick involved.
Yeah, remember, Black Sky was just a last minute explanation to why Elektra was killing people. She didn't know. We gave it a name, and well. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the season 1. You're right about that. I'm sorry. Yeah, Black Sky was something we never knew was going to be. We hoped would be paid off, and Elektra in season 2 is basically the. Again,
like I said, in season 1, the Black Sky felt more like kind of a one episode MacGuffin to get Stick into the story more than anything else.
Yes, you're right. Yes, and. Yeah, it basically gave a reason for the resurrection of Elektra, which I like that we gave it a reason. Sometimes just kind of brought back randomly, and it's like, hey, we like Elektra. Like the comics love Elektra, let's bring her back. In this case, we gave it at least a good reason.
All right.
Let's see. We're paying off ideas and motifs with characters, like Daredevil, swooping in. Luke Cage is basically the way Daredevil kind of swoops in. Luke Cage kind of has street level compassion for people. Iron Fist's learning curve, and Jessica Jones dealing with kind of guilt and trauma. So all the things that these characters usually kind of deal with or do, like him swooping as the lawyer, swooping in quite literally, kind of jumping in the thick of the action, like all these things we've seen established before.
Mm-hmm.
There, we have some fourth wall Iron Fist jokes that are pretty funny. He gets called out. My favorite line retroactively by Stick is it's between Stick and Elektra in the opening of the interrogation, and Elektra, Alexandra. I keep saying Elektra with Alexandra and Stick, where basically they're talking about the Iron Fist, and of course there have been many Iron Fists, and Alexandra says, "I've seen better."
God.
But the line that gets me with Stick is Stick. Yeah. He says before it, I guess. I thought it was after, before he says that Danny Rand. Like she says, "Oh yes, that Danny Rand." He says, "He's quite a handful."
Oh man,
it's the way he says it. Just Scott Glenn, the way he delivers. It's the ultimate response that I would imagine that I guess Scott Buck. I believe Scott Buck was the one who did Iron Fist. That'd be the best kind of response to all the criticism for Iron Fist. Just like you had Scott Glenn, like a soundbite of Scott Glenn saying, "He's a handful."
Oh God, that's funny.
It's just kind of swarmy enough to be like, "Hey, we tried, we failed, we get it. All right, just he's a handful." And of course, there's no Meacham commenting on okay, we're just gonna keep Iron Fist to the bare minimum.
Yeah, which, like I said, I would have liked to seen a cameo from War Dragon. I would have been up for it.
It could have gone golfing with Howard Hamlin.
Oh God.
And lastly, Sigourney Weaver.
I genuinely hope they don't just write Ward out of season 2, though. Like that would be really disappointing to me.
I don't think they will. And you got to remember the Meachams.
Ward is kind of our connection to the corporate side of things.
You got to remember the Meachams are going to be important in season 2 of Iron Fist because we had the whole tease with Joy at the end. I presume if they're going to do that with Joy, Ward would be involved, and hopefully a nicer award. So So again, Sigourney Weaver as Alexandra, of course, was really good in this episode with that whole opening. The very
I love the bit where she's just like cockily sitting on the desk.
Oh God, yes, and because she knows absolutely how this meeting is going to go, and she kind of applauds the fact that, oh boy, you are kid. I've seen a lot of Iron Fist, and we have a great line with her too. Is that she killed the last Iron Fist?
Yeah,
how awesome is that?
I will say the first scene of her in the restaurant, and she's like, "Oh, I'm really, really old, so I know how they made this recipe in the old." To me, that scene I didn't really need. It was kind of like, "All right, we get it. She's been around for a long time. All right."
You gotta remember, it's more of a now we know, but in the beginning you had to piece together like if she was like mortal, like a Ra's al Ghul type or not, because we didn't know what the black.
I'm just saying, like retroactively, you got to admit the scenes are a little on the nose.
Retroactively, yes, but to be fair, rewatch it. She didn't spell it out that hard. It was definitely implied, but she didn't spell it out like that hard.
I'm just saying, like I feel like the orchestra scene in episode 2 just hit the point like way better than the diner scene did.
I'll give you that, but also again, it's the main thing that highlights Sigourney. Then we'll move on. Is just again, I just love how she, and when Elektra comes back, screaming after she's splashing in the blood, is like, oh, this isn't all blood. It's blood in this black goop. I don't like the goop. I want out. But no, seriously, when she comes out of, like she says, okay, let me handle her. No one used their weapons against her. Just without saying it all. Just very much, she takes her down first of all and holds her like again, mother dealing with like a very difficult child with having a tantrum, and then she very quietly explains what's going on very calmly, like over feeding her. Again, I just love how that motherly, she's like a mother to evil. It's a great relationship. Anyway,
all right. So Dragon, let me cue up the sound clip and let's get into wait for it. Netflix. Nirvana. All right, so I guess chronologically my scene leads into your scene, so I'll go first. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, your scene's first. Go on.
Okay. So, folks, as we've kind of been alluding to, I absolutely love everything with Luke Cage meeting Danny Rand, properly meeting Danny Rand. I love the build up to it with Claire. It's like the recognition in Rosario Dawson's eyes. Like as soon as Luke Cage says some blonde kid with a glowing fist, it's Claire's just like, oh God, all right. Well, we had to cross this bridge when we got there, and I guess we've gotten to the bridge, so let's cross it. And Dragon, you're absolutely right. You had the perfect analogy. Claire and Colleen are kind of like the mothers on the play date just hanging out in the back room.
Yep.
And of course, I love the hard cut with Luke Cage, like, I forget, like Danny's like, he hit me. He started it.
What's up with that fist? Why can't you be hurt? What's up with that fist?
And of course, it all makes sense that these longtime pals would start off on the wrong foot in the Marvel universe, and more specifically, Dragon kind of bleeding out into the conversation that they're having. As I said, I love we hit it right on the head. I love that Luke Cage is kind of putting Danny in his place, but doing so in a very natural way that doesn't really feel like kind of like a finger wag, at all. It feels like a very natural kind of like, it's checking your privilege, but it's checking your privilege in a good way. And I just really like the moral dilemma that he puts Danny in about kind of like the street level thugs that Danny's been fighting the whole time. And just everything about the scene, from the humor of it to the poignancy of the the privilege and everything in between. It's just it's perfect, Dragon. It really kind of kind of deviates our fears that we had of Finn Jones kind of crashing and crashing and burning the Heroes for Hire dynamic.
Of course, just briefly with the Heroes for Hire dynamic, just to get it in there, just to make sure we get it in there. The course, the great save, the great Heroes for Hire moment that's paid off when we get like a tease of what the future of these what holds in the future of these two when Luke Cage goes in to save Danny Rand while he's fighting the Hand executives, I'll call them. And so hitting's okay now. It's complicated, and then basically it's that beautiful shot that we saw in one of those trailers. That, again, just, it was kind of spoilery, but who cares? It's awesome. Where Luke Cage takes a barrage of bullets, shielding Danny Rand, and the two of them turn. And it's like a cut, like right after this, where Luke Cage in his bullet-ridden hoodie, ready for action, and Danny Rand puts up the glowing fist, and oh my god, that's if you could, Tiki, I'm just imagining a big old awesome banner from the 70s that says Heroes for Hire.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
God, it's so awesome. If you have one shot to summarize Heroes for Hire, it's that shot. All right, well, speaking of Luke Cage, also, folks, of course, we're building to an obvious here, but let's.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, the hallway fight is, should be considered the big moment throughout the episode, obviously.
So yeah, here, for me though, again, aside from the hallway fight, for me, my personal favorite moment would be it's a Luke Cage moment. It's just the moment that I can't fight one iota because, oh my god, it's so beautiful, it's so perfect, it's everything I love about Luke Cage. In a moment is the scene where Luke Cage visits Dolores Miller, Cole's mother. Oh my god, it's beautiful. Now the whole scene's great, but I gotta basically get it to the point where Dolores gets the bad news. One, Luke is visiting Dolores, and what's so great, even the beginning of the scene kind of has me already, where Luke visits her, and the ending of the first episode was Luke saving Dolores Miller visiting one of her other Candace's sister, because she had 3 children. It's Candace, Cole, and the sister's name escapes me. The point is, visiting that little. The car that was turned into a vigil during the earthquake, like she's about to be hit by a pole, and Luke saved her, and we call that back here in Wonderfully, where she says, Miss Miller, I'm here to visit you. It says, you weren't sent. God, she says something along the lines of, for like, I wanted to meet with you. It says, you didn't come here to meet with me. God sent you. Like, I met you last night. It's just you didn't. You weren't. Yeah, the point is you were sent by God to save me. That's kind of what that moment is. But for me, though, it's just the moment where Luke Cage, he's kind of using his detective skills here, where he's learning that, okay, Midland Circle, as he finds out, okay, Cole secretly wanted to tip me off to Midland Circle. So at least Cole's last moment was very helpful to Luke Cage, where, okay, Midland Circle is where the Hand is, but I can't say that, or they'll kill me, or they'll kill my mother, or something. In the prison, in the visits, where again Luke he feels so bad for this kid that he feels responsible for having gone in there, and again Danny Rand as well, where as this discovery of like what's going to move Luke forward, as Cole's moment of helping Luke Cage, of putting his faith in Luke Cage, kind of comes to fruition. Dolores learns on the phone the worst possible way you could learn this for a mother. Again, a mother who's lost her other 2 children out of the 3. She learns that Cole was killed in a quote-unquote accident in the prison. And she just, and this is the moment here, this is Luke Cage for me. Luke Cage walks over to her, seeing that he's in need for this moment. He walks over to her, and as she drops the phone, after slowly informing Luke Cage, they said it was an accident. My babies are gone, and oh gosh, it's this perfect freeze frame for me, where it's Luke Cage embracing and then holding on the crying mother who's lost all of her children. It's confronting the bereaved mother. It's like that's the perfect shot. It's Luke Cage going to Harlem and showing support to to a woman, being like kind of that great hero that he is,
Yeah, absolutely. I love how it says so much without him saying a single word.
It's the perfect still of just him comforting that the mother who's lost all of her children to crime.
Oh
boy, it's great. So let's talk about the big awesome elephant in the room.
Yeah, I mean, first things first, the fight sequences with Iron Fist have definitely improved.
Yes, and of course, we've been building this ever since Daredevil. We've been building this, and the reason this is such a huge pivotal moment, the reason why, again, like Netflix Nirvana can be summed up with that music, the reason why the trailer uses this moment, the reason why is because we've had awesome hallway fights. We have memorable, awesome hallway fights in each of these shows, and it's like this is like the culmination of all four of them meeting simultaneously, fighting in unison together in a hallway, and Elektra enters. It's just perfect.
And I just love how not only is it just like the powers of all four of them, but more importantly, it's the personalities bouncing off of each other throughout the fight.
And it's the zero time the process that I think really makes it is that it's like, hey, again, we just had to get a little team up between Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and that's great. And they're all just simultaneously like, wait, you just wait a minute, guys, someone else is here. And of course, Elektra enters, and the rest of the hand flunkies enter. And of course, it's just it's Danny Rand. You'll see Danny Rand is on fire in this scene. I gotta say, I love he's climbing up the walls. They hit people. They're all in their unique fighting styles. Luke kind of using his strength, Jessica Jones as well, like punching people through glass, and Matt, of course, taking the brunt of it with Elektra. And as we mentioned earlier, Iron Fist coming in for the save of Matt. It's all working in unison. And of course, ends all of this within the last 2 minutes of the episode and stealing it.
Yeah, and that ending in the elevator, who are you people? And like, what a perfect way to end the episode. It's the ultimate kind of Netflix, like, well, shoot, now we have to watch the next episode.
Again, it's them in a location that we're gonna have a scene similar to this, which I don't want to give away too much about now, but I'm saying down the line in terms of episodes, we're all fighting in unison together. Because again, this essentially is the unspoken formation of the team. Who are you guys? Again, that's without saying it. We're the Defenders, but of course they haven't come up with that name yet. They're not even going to call themselves that. But it's like they're in a building. They're four New Yorkers in a building together, and they're in like they're in an unfamiliar, almost foreign kind of high rise, really fancy building that is Midland Circle, a financial building. Which again, they're all very street level characters in this almost like it's like they're storming Mount Olympus almost of New York in this fight. It's like, oh my god, it's like an Odyssey type thing. We've climbed to these great heights, and we're taking on we're taking on the Hand, the devil, if you will, and we're gonna make our quick exit after this because it's not over. It's wonderful.
All right.
Definition of a fist pumping moment, I suppose.
Okay, so let's get on to inciting incidents.
Yes.
Now, of course, this is kind of like the connective tissue that's going to lead everything to its conclusions.
Yes. Let's see. So first off, here's the 1%er. For the Maltese Falcon fans out there, Jessica Jones' alias in the scene where she is basically doing her Valley Girl voice is Mary Astor. It's she's named Mrs. Astor, which of course is a reference to Mary Astor, the actress who portrayed Astor's widow in Maltese Falcon. Let's just say had a big role in that. So it's this kind of a cool, again, PI kind of I like to think that Jessica Jones watches the old detective movies to get that. She has to. All right. Of course, we pay off the hallway fight, the ultimate payoff to all the hallway fights as we went through.
Of course.
There's the scarf mask. The scarf mask is a reference to Daredevil season 1 with the kind of the Daredevil in the black first costume, as well as a tease at Iron Fist in the future.
And naturally, we have all the Heroes for Hire stuff. That's just like kind of like hey, you thought you had doubts in Finn Jones? Well, don't worry, we got you covered.
Of course, we mentioned Ward Meacham.
Yes, mention, yay!
Speaking of mention, we mentioned Kilgrave. We have Daredevil mention Kilgrave.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We have the
as you mentioned with tracking Jessica Jones. That's kind of like a great combination of the two shows' styles right there. Of Daredevil and Jessica Jones at situations we've seen them both in.
Certainly. We have the blood and the black mystery substance.
Oh God, yes.
We still don't know what in the show. We don't know what the black mystery substance is yet, and of course that's going to be a big reveal what that black mystery substance is. And actually, I'll say this much: it's on the rewatch. It's occurred to me in this moment actually that the what the substance is, we have strategically teased, or at least it's strategically also mentioned in this episode. So it's kind of like the clue to the mystery was given in this episode that pays off later on.
Uh-huh.
We'll get there later. All right. Luke Cage looking out for the Miller family and saving Dolores in episode 1, as mentioned. Jessica Jones talking to the Raymond family. She's going to be looking out for these guys and kind of continually talking to them. So, the Raymond family are big.
Foggy's plan for Matt kind of falling on its face a little bit.
Yeah, and that's going to pay off. The crowd tailing shots from Jessica Jones, as mentioned as well. Midland Circle is a very pivotal set piece. Again, we've been building ever since the first season of Daredevil, really, because remember that section of Hell's Kitchen was bought out by Nobu and Wilson Fisk. So again, Midland Circle. So that was like them buying the land, and now it's been built and such. It's been completed.
Of course, this started the idea of Matt having to go face to face with Elektra, that whole moral dilemma.
Yeah. Stan Lee as Captain Irving Forbush on the poster. That's his name, by the way. He's the police captain on those recruitment posters. And in the scene where Jessica and Matt are kind of pursuing each other, that's where Stan can be seen, and for both characters.
Yeah.
The Chikara Dojo, that's where we see Colleen at, and that's where the big meeting scene happens too. It's the Chikara Dojo. We learn that Stick is the last of the chase, and also, hey, Stick's back.
Right.
And, I got one left, unless you got anything else.
No, go for it.
Elektra's comic costume. Elektra is in the most comic accurate costume, because what they did at the end of Daredevil season 2, she was in a reverse colored version of her outfit, where she had black on red, and now we have her finally she's wearing the red. Basically, she's not showing leg in terms that we have black covering. It's the rules of Daredevil where the black parts are armor and the red parts aren't. So she's got the basically she looks exactly like as practical you could get in showing Elektra from the comics. So she looks great.
All right. Okay, Dragon, now we come to the final segment where we give us some final thoughts and ask the daring question. Who's for Chinese?
Who's for Chinese?
It's so mysterious, we have to put a question mark over Danny Rand's face.
Well, I quite liked him in this episode.
All right. So, yeah, final thoughts on my end, Dragon. This is definitely the best episode of Defenders, in my view. It's sort of the culmination of the biggest strengths of the first and second half of the season. The first half being the, kind of like the appeal of having all these characters in their own sort of like standalone mini shows and mini stories, whereas the second half is kind of like the high octane action and seeing the characters bouncing off of each other. Like I said, we get the best of both worlds here. We get some great character building on all 4 of our guys, especially Luke Cage and Iron Fist. And, of course, one of the best fight scenes in the Netflix pantheon. So, yeah, overall, just a really, really strong episode. And honestly, as much as I like episode 4 and there's some good stuff, Dragon, it's all downhill from here, folks. This is the peak. This is as good as the show gets, I think.
Well, look, you're right. It is the peak, but let's not say it so negatively. Let's just say, it's pretty like the next couple episodes, at least 4 and 5 is in my recollection. Definitely 4. I mean, it's a straight line. Then it goes, progressively goes.
Really good. I'm curious to see how the second half in general of this show holds up. It's kind of like I feel like it's kind of like an interesting sort of like second half of Luke Cage situation where my memories of it aren't great, but there might be some hidden gem stuff that I'm not recalling. So who knows?
All right, well, we'll see with that. Okay, for me, this is the episode 8 of Defenders as well. It's it's very smart. It's very smart plotting. I think this is a very tightly plotted, which is kind of the mark of an episode 8. There are a lot of great moments and performances all throughout it. And again, I think smart plotting and smart writing goes a long way, especially when this is like the big, like they all meet each other. It's like they realize this was a big episode, it was a huge episode, and again, it was at the same time. While it's a safe bet that they all meet each other, people are going to go wild for this. At the same time, you want to get it right, and I feel the the execution reflected the goal or reflected the mission statement. This is the mission statement episode. That's what it is.
Mhm.
It builds up to again. It's the build up to the ultimate hallway fight. I mean, it built up to the ultimate hallway fight, which we saw unfold at the very end. And I mean, the build up that got us there as well through the episode. It felt warranted. It didn't just feel like we're waiting for that. It just felt like, okay, I'm invested. And I like seeing them kind of come together. It's like you're seeing it all come together and you're appreciating it. And this is the discovery of the pot of gold that is the Marvel Netflix show. That's kind of what it is. It's like this is the discovery of like, oh my God, this is the Shangri-La we've been building through these four pillars. One of them a little divoted, but hey, this is the, this is the Shangri-La. This is El Dorado. This is the El Dorado of the Marvel Netflix shows. Hooray!
All right.
So
Okay. Go ahead.
So I liked it.
Okay, so now we separate until next time when Netflix's New Yorkers summon us to mull over the Marvel microcosm that is The Defenders.
Da, 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 da. Sing along with me, Matthew.
Splish splash, I was taking a blood bath.